The unemployment crisis is not over in Maryland as Fox 45 News continues to investigate the Maryland Department of Labor and the problems with this safety net. We finally hear from a whistleblower who has spent time behind the scenes resolving claims and speaking to some of the men and women who have spent months waiting for answers. Amy Simpson live now with this. Amy.
Mary, it's a side of the story we haven't shared until now. A man who says he spent months behind the scenes adjudicating unemployment claims here in Maryland, giving us just a small window into the process.
You have to prepare yourself to call someone.
He says some calls would begin with an apology.
You just tell them, like, I haven't forgot about you. We haven't forgot about you. I will always apologize. Like, I apologize on behalf of Maryland Unemployment Department.
Reece Lightner no longer on the other end of some Maryland claims. But he says for the first few months of 2021, he was processing claims. Hired as a contract worker through a company named Alorica.
I was like, yes, I'm calling you from, Maryland Unemployment Department. I'm an adjudicator.
It was in February when Maryland's Board of Public Works accepted the emergency contract for Alorica to provide unemployment claim adjudication staff. The contract worth more than $70 million. After 5 days and 4 attempts, Alorica finally responded to Fox 45, saying it does not comment on confidential personnel information. The company also says it reserves the right to enforce a non-disclosure agreement.
When we first started January, it's like they wanted us to work. Then our quality was going down, and people they were getting on us that we weren't doing our job correctly.
But this former adjudicator tells Fox 45 News he only received about a week of training on how to do the job.
Yes, we definitely weren't trained adequately. If I work a job, I want to give it my all. I want to be prepared, and I want to give it my all.
Ultimately, this former adjudicator says he left the job for several reasons.
And I didn't feel as though I was qualified.
Now, today, the Maryland Department of Labor did not say how long training typically lasts, but they do tell me for new hires, the training process is 3 steps with then continued training over time. Reporting live in Baltimore tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Well, tonight, the City Council touched on the violence, but our council members focused on the right priorities. Keith Daniels begins our team coverage with more on what the council talked about and reaction from residents. Keith?
Well, Kai, the residents we spoke to say they understand the community has its part to do, but they say they also look to their city council leaders to help keep them safe. On the agenda of the Baltimore City Council's meeting Monday, there are zoning legislative items considered, including permitting the sale of alcohol at one establishment. Other items considered, 3 resolutions, including one focused on violence against women. But there's nothing on the agenda directly regarding the recent surge in shootings in the city, including the ones involving children, like the 5-year-old boy who police say suffered a graze wound when a stray bullet flew into his home as he sat in the bathtub over the weekend. Shannon Wright,
crime is off the charts.
A former Baltimore mayoral candidate, says she's not surprised there's no resolution regarding the recent violence.
We have all allowed our elected leaders to be able to decide what is important, what they want to take a stab at, what they want to just kind of pass over and look around and avoid.
We were able to reach out to 7 of the 14 council members, left messages. We wanted to ask them, among other things, why no resolution on the recent surge in shootings? But so far, no response. But some residents are speaking out on what they expect from their city leaders in the effort to help quell the violence.
It's for the city council to do something, but in coordination with, our police commissioner.
If every city council person in all 14 districts in this city puts the amount of pressure where it needs to be placed that they are getting, we would see change.
Well, another man said tonight that he has a question for city council members. That question is, he wants to know where are all the guns coming from, and he wants them to do something about it. Meantime, city council members and the struggle to help keep people safe tonight.
Women are also the victims of gun violence over the weekend. Alexa Ashwell has been digging into the troubling rise in female homicides in the city. She joins us with more on that story. Alexa?
Well, yes, Kai, the rise in violence against women here in the city is something we've been covering all year. And while BPD wouldn't sit down and talk with us about it, one of the contributing factors they believe is the rise in domestic-related incidents. It's unclear if that was the case in either of these two most recent shootings. Over the weekend, a 26-year-old woman was shot and killed in North Baltimore. Farther west, a woman was shot in a triple shooting. As police investigate what led up to each case, both yet another example of city violence impacting women.
It's certainly of great concern.
In a two-part crime and justice special report last February, Fox 45 News investigated the troubling rise in female homicides across Baltimore. In 2020, nearly 50 females were murdered in the city, more than double compared to 2015. Former Baltimore police spokesman T.J. Smith attributed the spike to random violence, an increase in women involved in crimes, and violent partners. When it comes to domestic violence, House of Ruth speaking to the need to better bridge the gap between police, community, and city agencies, a long-time struggle in the city.
If your community has a distrust of formal systems of help, like Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services, the police, because of history with that community, it makes it much harder for women to reach out for help and assistance because they're not sure what is going to happen when they reach out for help. Are their children going to be taken away from them? Is their partner going to be incarcerated or worse, killed?
City leaders now taking a closer look at the issue, introducing resolutions to look at ways to reduce violence against women. And as you heard, all city agencies expected to come to the table as part of the discussion with these two resolutions. As for these two most recent cases, no arrests have been made.